Before we begin, if you enjoy listening to my stories, please don't forget to like, share them with your friends and fellow BL lovers, and subscribe. Your support means everything to me and really helps this channel grow. Chapter 1. The Runaway and the Replacement. The grand hall of House Al-Thari was adorned with gold-threaded drapes and crystal chandeliers. The air was thick with tension and even thicker with suppressed scent suppressants. The marriage between the eldest Al-Thari's son Alpha Dane and the elusive Enigma crime lord Merrick Velkin was meant to merge power, legacy, and loyalty. It was also meant to happen 10 minutes ago. Instead, the guests stared at the main aisle, where a house butler had just sprinted in, wheezing, and whispered something to the high matron. Her face drained of color faster than an empty scent vial. "Dane ran off?" someone dared to whisper. "With his Omega gym trainer, I heard," another said with barely disguised glee. Merrick Velkin, seated at the head of the Enigma delegation, crossed one long leg over the other. His black gloves creaked softly as he flexed his fingers. "Pity," he murmured. His voice held no emotion, but his eyes glittered with something far darker than disappointment. 12 hours later. Al-Thari family dungeon. "Get up," a voice barked. Rav Al-Thari, younger Alpha son, groaned from his corner cell. His body was thin, bruised, but not broken. Despite months of unjust imprisonment, his mouth still worked fine. "If this is about me stealing the High Matron's perfume when I was 14, I'm not apologizing," he said, rolling over. A foot kicked his ribs, gentle but insulting. He opened one bloodshot eye. 2 guards, one very expensive collar, and his mother behind them, stiff in mourning black. "You're getting married," she said coldly. Rave blinked. "To a firing squad?" "To Merrick Velkin." Rave sat up so fast his bones cracked. "You're fucking kidding me." "You will be bathed, bound, and dressed in ceremonial silks. You will wear the collar. You will not embarrass this house." "I'm a convicted murderer," Rave snapped. "You're throwing me at a mafia boss to save face?" "We're throwing you at him," she corrected, "because your brother couldn't keep it in his pants, and you owe this family." 2 hours later, Rave stood before a gilded mirror, dressed in the finest white ceremonial robes. Soft silk clung to his hips. A choker of red velvet and gold etched with Enigma script circled his throat, humming faintly with scent suppression tech. His hair was brushed back. His wrists bore soft cuffs with golden chains attached. "Is this a wedding or a hostage exchange?" Rave muttered. The butler paused while tightening the silk sash. "Both, sir." The ceremony hall. Merrick Velkin stood at the altar, a tall figure in midnight black with blood-red embroidery. His aura was impossible to read, cool, composed, too powerful for his age. He had seen Rave once, chained, bloodied, proud. And from that moment he decided, this Alpha will be mine. The doors opened. Gasps followed. Rave stepped in, chin high, eyes blazing. Despite the scent-dampening collar, the fury leaking off him was nearly delicious. Merrick's lips curled into the faintest smile. Rave was led down the aisle, literally dragged the last few steps as he tried to kick the ceremonial guard in the shin. "Try it, bastard," he growled when Merrick reached for his hand. "Later," Merrick murmured, "in our bed." The priest hesitated. "By the sacred vows of unity, do you, Merrick Velkin, accept?" "Yes," Merrick said before he finished. Rave rolled his eyes. "I do not." The collar sparked slightly. A warning shock. Everyone gasped. Merrick chuckled softly. Private suite. Hours later, Rave paced like a caged lion in the enormous candlelit room. The air was scented with spicy sandalwood, Merrick's scent intentionally overpowering. Merrick entered silently, carrying 2 glasses of chilled tonic water. "You look divine in silk," he said, eyes raking over Rave's form. "Exactly how I imagined." "After everything that happens to me," Rave snapped. "And now suddenly I'm your bride?" "I prefer the word mate," Merrick replied smoothly. "But yes, go to hell." Merrick stepped forward. The collar glowed faintly as their proximity triggered the latent Enigma heat frequencies. Rave stiffened. "Why?" he demanded. Merrick tilted his head almost lovingly. "This is exactly how I wanted you, my alpha," he whispered, lips brushing Rave's scent gland. "You were always meant to be mine." Chapter 2. The Collar and the Cage. Silk sheets, gold leaf ceilings, windows taller than most houses. Rave Althari stood in the middle of the master bedroom, barefoot and scowling, while a butler held out a small, velvet-lined box like it was a royal offering. Inside rested a crimson crystal pendant, strung on a chain of obsidian and silver. Ornate, strange, intricately crafted with Enigma script. "Another symbol of my oppression?" Rave asked dryly. Merrick leaned casually against the doorframe, arms crossed, the very picture of composed menace. "A gift," he said. "A bonding token, custom made. It contains a scent blend formulated from mine and yours?" Rave's lips curled. "What, like perfume?" "Not quite. It's laced with microdose pheromones. You'll feel better wearing it." "You mean I'll feel more like bending over when you breathe near me?" Merrick smiled, utterly unbothered. Eventually, velvet cage. Rave's new prison had no bars but plenty of locks. Velvet cushions, imported rugs, a scent-dampened shower the size of a living room. His clothes were all custom-fitted, silk shirts, loose pants, robes that slid off like they'd been stitched by sirens. "I look like a cursed housewife," Rave muttered as he stared at his reflection in the giant oval mirror. The pendant rested over his sternum, pulsing faintly. He tried taking it off 3 times. Each time, he got a dull headache. He stopped trying by day 4. Dinner for 2, or so he thought. Merrick insisted on nightly meals together. The first few were painfully quiet. Rave would sit, arms crossed, while Merrick ate with unnerving grace, cutting steak like a goddamn vampire lord. On the 5th night, Rave finally snapped. "Why me?" he asked. "Why not just pick a willing alpha?" Merrick's fork paused midair. "I didn't want a willing alpha," he said simply. "I wanted you." Rave blinked. "You're deranged." "Not entirely," Merrick said. "Deranged would be locking you in a tower. I gave you a piano. I can't play the piano. You can now. You're welcome." Body betrayal. The pendant grew warmer over the week. Rave found himself sleeping better, breathing easier, only when the pendant was on. His nose became strangely attuned to Merrick's scent. Bergamot, sandalwood, something electric and wild underneath. He started recognizing Merrick's footsteps by smell. His heat suppressants, though taken religiously, began to wear thin. His body prickled with heat the moment Merrick entered the room. Chest tight, skin flushed. He hated it. He hated the way Merrick looked at him, like he was made of glass, like he was fragile and divine all at once. He hated the quiet acts of service, Merrick brushing his tangled hair after a restless nap, pressing cool cloths to his neck when his fever spiked. Most of all, he hated the kiss Merrick pressed to a long, faded scar on his thigh, whispering, "They should have never touched you, ever." Flashback. Rave's dreams were always the same: the cell, the guards, the camera flashing. His brother Dane not looking back. The lawyer shaking her head. "The footage is irrefutable, Rave. You were caught on tape." Except, Rave knew he wasn't. He'd been framed. He just never figured out by who. Heat and humor. On day 12, it happened. Rave's suppressant faltered completely. He curled on the floor, gritting his teeth, sweat-drenched, wearing only a thin robe. Merrick found him like that, red-faced, eyes dilated, growling like a cornered wolf. "Don't touch me," Rave hissed. "I won't," Merrick said softly, but stayed anyway. "I'll just sit here." He knelt 10 feet away, watching, waiting. But Rave's body had other ideas. 30 minutes later, panting and irritable, Rave launched a decorative vase at Merrick's head. Merrick ducked calmly, glass shattering behind him. He stood up, dusted himself off, and looked at the shattered pieces. "Would you like another one to break?" he asked, completely serious. There's a matching set in the hall. Rave stared at him wide-eyed, then snorted, then laughed. And Merrick smiled. The kind of smile Rave didn't know Merrick could make. Not sharp, not smug, just soft. It was terrifying. Later. That night, Rave couldn't sleep. He stood on the balcony in loose clothes, the pendant warm against his skin. Merrick stood behind him. You're doing this on purpose, Rave said, voice low. Doing what? This, being kind. I'm being honest, Merrick said. For the first time in a long time. Rave didn't answer. His heart was pounding too hard. He didn't understand why his body leaned slightly backward, like it wanted to fall into Merrick's arms. Don't fall for it, Rave muttered to himself, clutching the pendant. Don't fall for the bastard who put you in a cage, no matter how soft the walls are. Chapter 3. The Bond and the Breaking Point. A royal performance. When the Velkan Althari Union Gala was announced, the media went feral. The infamous framed Alpha, Rave Althari, now the Enigma consort, they expected him to arrive drugged, muzzled, or maybe tripping over his robes like a disgraced stray. What they got was something very different. Rave stepped onto the red carpet in a tailored black suit lined with obsidian thread. His pendant glowed faintly against his bare chest. The collar was off for the first time, but he walked like he owned the damn evening. Beside him, Merrick looked like a proud dragon guarding a holy relic. He didn't touch Rave. He didn't have to. Everyone knew he wanted to. Smile, Merrick whispered as they reached the cameras. I am, Rave replied with venom. You're just too dead inside to see it. When a reporter asked if Rave was enjoying married life, he tilted his head and smiled sweetly. It's just like jail, but the food's better and my warden's hot. Cue silence, then laughter, then headlines. A kiss that burns. That night, the moment the doors shut behind them, Merrick turned. You stunned them, he murmured. Even me. Good, Rave said, pulling off his jacket. Maybe now they'll stop acting like I'm your tragic pet project. You were never a project, Merrick replied. Then he kissed him. It was meant to be soft, reverent. It wasn't. Something cracked inside Rave. The kiss deepened, teeth clashing, lips bruising. His body trembled. The pendant flared, and his heat hit like a tidal wave. Rave collapsed against Merrick, breath shallow. No, he whispered. Not like this. But Merrick didn't move to claim him. He just lowered Rave onto the bed, muttering prayers in a language Rave didn't know. I'm not going to take you, Merrick said. Not until you ask. Rave whimpered, curling into him, but his body betrayed him again. The bond, he asked. Once? And Merrick was already there. The mark was placed at the base of Rave's neck, burning like fire, followed by the slow, spiraling glow of completion. Their bond fused. Scent, breath, rhythm, everything aligned. In the haze of pleasure, pain, and hormonal fog, Rave broke down. He sobbed, not from the bond, but for everything else. For Dane, who ran and never looked back. For justice, twisted and denied. For the version of himself that died in a prison cell. Merrick held him tightly, obsessed, silent, worshipful. I'll never let you go, he said into his hair. Not now, not ever. Rave was too tired to protest. Chaos and comfort. 3 months later, the next 3 months were excessive. Their mansion became a swirl of chaos. Rave refused to wear shoes indoors. Merrick started scheduling their arguments like appointments. A private chef cried after Rave demanded waffles shaped like sharks. They nested like animals, fancy animals with a multi-million-dollar security system. You are the most spoiled alpha in the country, Merrick said one morning as he found Rave eating cake in the jacuzzi. I deserve worse, Rave replied, shoving another forkful into his mouth. Heat flares returned occasionally. Merrick treated them like holy rituals. He'd shut down entire buildings just to get Rave into a cool room, muttering about scent purity and threshold alignment. They bickered, teased, kissed like they hated each other. It was almost domestic, until it wasn't. The truth behind the frame. It was a rainy afternoon when Rave got curious. He'd been teasing Merrick about keeping secrets, and the bastard had smirked and said, "You can search my files if you want." So he did. He didn't expect to find a folder named Project Althari. He clicked. Surveillance clips, bribery records, falsified timestamps, and finally, a video file. Merrick's voice, calm and cold. "Edit the footage. I want him alone in the frame. The knife must look natural. The rest? Leave no trace." Rave stared at the screen. Blood drained from his face. The pendant around his neck burned. He sat there for a long time, hours maybe. He waited until Merrick came home. The breaking point. Merrick entered the room with his usual quiet confidence. Rain clung to his coat, and he carried a paper bag of Rave's favorite bakery buns. He saw the laptop open on the desk. He stopped. "You ruined me," Rave said, voice steady, quiet. Merrick said nothing. Rave rose, face unreadable. "You planned every second, every fall, every chain, and I—" His voice cracked. "Just a little. And I let you touch me." Silence. Then Rave stepped forward, held Merrick's hand out, and pressed the still warm pendant into his palm. "You want honesty? Then earn it." He walked past him, head high, spine straight. He didn't leave the mansion. But that night, he locked the bedroom door behind him. And Merrick didn't knock. Chapter 4. Pregnant with Vengeance. The test. The screen flashed twice before blinking positive. 2 stripes. Pregnant. Rave sat motionless on the edge of the bathtub, still clutching the stick like it might explode. The room was silent, save for the soft hum of scent neutralizers and rain tapping on the frosted windows. "Well," Rave muttered, tossing the test into the sink, "isn't that just poetic?" The confrontation attempt. Later that evening, Merrick entered the lounge slowly. No guards, no aura of menace. Just a man with tired eyes and a tray carrying peppermint tea and sliced mango, 2 of Rave's secret favorites. "I know what you saw," he said softly. "Oh?" Rave didn't look up from the novel he wasn't actually reading. Was it the file called Project Althari _final_real_this_1 that gave it away? Merrick winced. Rave turned the page with dramatic flair. "You really committed to the villain arc, didn't you?" "I didn't do it because I hated you." "Wow, that's comforting," Rave replied dryly. "The guy who framed me for murder only did it because he was horny and insane. Cheers." Merrick stepped forward cautiously. "I want to talk about it. No," Rave interrupted. "You don't get to want." Merrick stopped. Rave's voice dropped, sharp and final. "I'm not leaving you, Merrick. That'd be too easy. I want you to live every day knowing you destroyed everything to have me. And now, you're stuck with me." The pregnancy reveal. 2 days passed in silence. Then, at breakfast, Rave casually mentioned, "By the way, I'm pregnant." Merrick dropped the glass in his hand. It shattered against the marble floor. Rave didn't blink. "Clean it up," he said, sipping orange juice. "And don't bother crying. You don't get to cry unless I say so." Merrick dropped to his knees silently and started picking up glass with bare hands. Blood bloomed along his palm. Rave's breath hitched, but he didn't move. He wouldn't let himself. Not yet. Cold War, Rave began withholding everything. He refused to sleep in their bedroom, instead taking over the sunroom and locking the doors at night. He spoke to Merrick only when necessary. He called him Mr. Velkin. He stopped touching him, stopped reacting. His scent was shielded behind blockers. And Merrick? He didn't protest. He simply started doing things. Small, maddening, intimate things. He installed padded corners in every room, just in case Rave fell. He built a nursery with his own hands. No staff, no tools, just him and a hammer and soft green walls. He began pulling out of shady operations, shutting down half his syndicate's violent assets. Not forever, but for now. Rave noticed it all. He just didn't comment. Until one day, he found Merrick asleep on the nursery floor, curled on a pile of baby blankets, calloused hands bandaged from overwork, face twitching from a nightmare. Rave stood in the doorway and whispered, "You're still a bastard, Merrick, but maybe not a lost cause." The cracks in the ice. Rave's pregnancy progressed healthily, but he refused Merrick's help unless it was strictly medical. Morning sickness? He handled it. Clothing issues? He made the butler measure him in complete silence. Doctor visits? Merrick was allowed to sit near him, but not touch. And every time Merrick tried to offer kindness, blankets, pillows, water, foot rubs, Rave replied with lethal sarcasm. "You're not allowed to be sweet," he hissed during a particularly sharp backache. "It makes me violently nauseous." "I'll stop," Merrick said softly. "Good." Eventually. The Enigma can't change completely. Despite his efforts to reform, Merrick's Enigma instincts never really disappeared. He stopped manipulating, but he still hovered like a beast on a leash. He still smelled every chair before Rave sat on it, still replaced every food container twice daily, still threatened the family's private chef for daring to use non-organic tomatoes. He still watched Rave when he slept, eyes soft, expression haunted. "You can't stop loving me like this, can you?" Rave whispered one night, too tired to be angry, too tired to resist. Merrick didn't blink. "No." Rave sighed, leaning back against the pillow. Figures. Quiet redemption. One afternoon, Rave found a tiny envelope on his bedside table. Inside was a letter written in Merrick's messy handwriting. It reads, "You were the only light in my life worth stealing. I just didn't realize I could have earned you. I'm sorry for being a coward disguised as a god. I will build a life worthy of you, even if you never let me touch you again." Rave didn't cry, but he folded the letter carefully, placed it under his pillow, and said nothing when Merrick came in to check on him. For the first time in weeks, he didn't call him Mr. Velkin. He just said, "Close the window, Merrick, the baby doesn't like the cold." Merrick obeyed instantly and smiled. Chapter 5. The Bastard Belongs to Me. The Demand. 5 months into his pregnancy, Rave's moods had evolved from cold fury to something sharper, precise. He wasn't bitter anymore. He was calculating. And now that Merrick had proven he was willing to suffer, Rave was ready to set the price. "You want to sleep beside me again?" Rave said, arms crossed, belly prominent under his black silk robe. "Clear my name." Merrick straightened. "Done. No tricks, no backdoor deals. Publicly." Merrick nodded once, already pulling out his phone. Rave blinked. "Wait, what are you—" "Scheduling the press conference." "You didn't even ask for conditions." "I don't need any," Merrick said softly. "Your name will be clean. I'll make sure of it." The truth goes public. The press conference aired live on every major channel. Merrick Velkin, Enigma billionaire and undisputed underground king, sat in a sleek black suit, with Rave Althari beside him, pregnant, radiant, and stone-faced. Cameras clicked. Reporters whispered. Then Merrick dropped the bomb. 6 months ago, I falsified evidence that framed my mate, Rave Althari, for murder. The room erupted. But Merrick raised one hand and the noise died instantly. "I did it not out of hatred, but obsession. I wanted him with me. But the type of alpha he is, if I haven't done anything like that, he wouldn't be with me today. Though that doesn't excuse my actions. But it is the truth. And this man, my husband, is the only one allowed to punish me for it." A long pause. Then Merrick added, "If anyone has a problem, take it up with me. But be prepared to die tired." Headlines exploded. But no one questioned it, not really. Because Merrick Velkin was an enigma, and enigmas were allowed to do unthinkable things for love. Society didn't challenge what it couldn't control. The Althari family returns. The Althari family arrived in a private convoy 2 days later. The High Matron wept dramatically at the gates. Diane, now disowned, sent a letter begging for forgiveness. Rave received them on the front steps of the Velkin estate, arms folded over his baby bump, expression flat. His mother stepped forward. "Rave, please, we didn't know. You didn't care to know. You thought I was guilty because it was easier than standing by me." His younger cousin tried to kneel at his feet. Merrick was beside him, in a heartbeat, eyes blazing. Rave simply raised a hand. No. He looked at his blood family and then said, "Unlike my husband, you knew me better than anyone else. And you still chose to betray me. I'll never forgive that." He turned and walked back inside, letting the gates shut behind him. Merrick didn't say anything. But that night, he brought Rave lavender-scented cocoa and didn't leave his side once. Quiet softness. In a loud world, despite the headlines, despite the chaos, their home began to warm. One night, Rave found Merrick in the nursery at 2 a.m. Glasses crooked, hair a mess, muttering to himself. "What are you doing?" Rave asked, amused. Merrick looked up from the baby book. "Studying sleep patterns of second trimester hybrid pregnancies. The variables are terrifying." "You've run arms deals smoother than this." "Exactly. This is harder." Rave chuckled. Actually chuckled. And that startled both of them. Another time, during a particularly rough insomnia spell, Merrick built a full pillow fort around the bed. "Why is there a roof?" "Womb simulation," Merrick deadpanned. "You're insane." "Obsessed," Merrick corrected. "And in love." Slow rebuilding, they still fought. Rave still snapped. Merrick still hovered like a wolf with abandonment issues. But things got better. Slowly, painfully, stubbornly. Rave let Merrick rub his swollen ankles once. Merrick got permission to spoon him from behind, but only if he didn't breathe too loudly. Rave wore Merrick's robe one morning without comment. And during a late-night cuddle where both were half asleep and tangled in blankets, Rave murmured, "You're still a bastard." Merrick, eyes closed, smiled into his shoulder. "But I'm your bastard now." Chapter 6. The Air and the Haunting. The contractions begin. The first contraction hit during a quiet dinner. Rave dropped his fork. Merrick, across the table mid-bite, froze. "No," Merrick whispered. Rave arched a brow. "Yes." Merrick stood so fast his chair toppled. "Protocol Omega-3, he barked. "Activate the birthing team, seal the estate, prep the medical wing, boil water." "Why water?" "I don't know. It's what people yell in movies." The chaos of love. Rave labored for 7 hours. Merrick was there for all of it. Not speaking, just holding his hand, brushing sweaty hair off his face, whispering, "You're doing perfect. You're everything. I'll never leave you." Rave, through clenched teeth, "If you say one more Enigma-spun love poem, I will bite you." "I hope you do. You freak. You love me." Unfortunately, the baby. Their child entered the world screaming, a small, squirmy bundle with Rave's sharp eyebrows and Merrick's dark, serious eyes. A baby boy. Merrick held him like he was made of sunlight, like holding him too tightly might erase the world. He whispered the baby's name, Kylum Althari Velkin, a mix of both their family lines heavy with history. Rave, exhausted and dazed, leaned back into the pillows. "You're crying," he said softly. "I'm allowed," Merrick replied, tears trailing down his face. "He's perfect. He's you." The haunting remains. Rave recovered slowly. The first few days were silent, almost too silent. He watched Merrick fumble through diapers, bottle sterilizers, sleepless pacing. He never complained, not once. He carried Rave to bed every time he fell asleep on the couch. He didn't even try to kiss him, not until Rave reached for his face one night and murmured, "Hey, idiot." Merrick blinked. "Yes?" "Come here." He kissed him. Gently, deeply, honestly. And Rave didn't push him away. Forgiveness isn't a gift, it's a choice. Weeks passed. Rave still hadn't said it. "I forgive you." And Merrick never asked. Not anymore. But one morning, after a night of lullabies and midnight feedings, Rave looked up from the crib and said, "You ruined me, and then rebuilt me with trembling hands." Merrick froze. Rave added, soft and sure, "And I think, I love what we've built." Merrick crumbled, silently, beautifully. They kissed again. This time, it wasn't to forget the past. It was to accept it and move forward with their now beautiful small family, which may or may not get big in the future. Domestic chaos. The baby was colicky. The walls had bite marks from rave. Merrick nearly set fire to the nursery trying to heat a bottle. But they were happy. In their own terrifying, luxurious, possessive, chaotic way. "You're still a bastard," Rave muttered one night as they rocked the baby to sleep. Merrick kissed his temple. "But I'm your bastard." "Damn right,"